The difficulty of a climb is more dependent on the amount and size of the handholds and footholds than on steepness. Small handholds require great finger strength and confident footwork. A good climbing shoe is essential. The soles of climbing shoes are made from specially soft rubber to assure good adhesion to the rock.
In the summer of 1905, a tragedy struck Yosemite National Park, marking the first recorded climbing fatality in the park's history. On June 5th, Charles A. Bailey, a 50-year-old real estate dealer from Oakland, was tragically killed during an ambitious climbing attempt near El Capitan. The incident, described in the Gazette Mariposan article, published 5 days later on June 10th, shocked the climbing community and left a lasting legacy on Yosemite's climbing history. Bailey, an experienced mountaineer, was no stranger to adventure, having spent 16 summers exploring Yosemite and recently completing a 14-month global journey that included climbing the Matterhorn and many other European peaks, was an accomplished outdoorsman. On the day of the accident, he was accompanied by 22-year-old J.C. Statz, a climbing partner who would become a key witness in the tragic events. The two men had set out to scale a steep, uncharted cliff west of El Capitan, a daunting face that had never been touched before by another climber. In Stat's words, this would have been a record climb up a cliff west of El Cap. The climb, however, was no simple ascent. It was a difficult scramble with no trail and a near-vertical rock face, a challenge for even seasoned climbers. Setting off in the morning, by mid-afternoon they had made their way halfway up the 3,000-foot cliff and stopped for a brief rest, perched on a narrow shelf. Bailey sat comfortably on the ledge, while Statz clung to the rock face below. Without warning, Bailey began to slide. Despite his experience and physical fitness, he lost his grip and shot downward a few feet to Statz's left, before falling headlong out of sight. Statz, unable to reach him in time, watched in horror as Bailey plummeted. Striking his head several times on the rocky surface below, he quickly vanished from view. In a state of shock, Statz descended cautiously to where he had last seen his partner, finding only a hat and blood-spattered rocks. The scene was grim, but Statz was unable to continue the search alone. Physically and mentally exhausted, he climbed his way back up to the top of El Cap and eventually made his way back to the village to alert authorities. A search party the next day included 3 of Bailey's close friends, J. A. Snell, H. Spalding, and F. Curry. They quickly assembled at the top of El Cap and descended by rope over 600 feet past the cliff the incident took place on. And by 11 a.m. they found Bailey's mangled remains, which had more than a dozen broken bones. By 1 p.m. they had brought his body up to a safer point where it could be recovered for transport. The physical toll on those who searched for Bailey's body was immense, and their recovery was a harrowing ordeal. The cause of his fall was never fully determined, but it was clear that the climb had proven fatal. This accident, now recognized as one of Yosemite's earliest climb tragedies, remains a sobering reminder of the risks inherent to mountain climbing. At the time, there were no established climbing routes or safety protocols, and much of the climbing was more about exploration and daring feats, rather than the technical sport it is today. In the absence of modern equipment and techniques, the risk was high, and Bailey's fall highlighted the deadly potential of such reckless ventures. Bailey's climb up the face of El Capitan was later identified as El Cap Gully, and was not a typical climb by today's standards. Being rated as Class 4, this means it required a rope and even basic assistance while ascending or descending. However, the men that day brought no ropes or specialized climbing gear, just their physical abilities and some rudimentary tools. While this kind of scramble was more common in the early 20th century, it was far more dangerous than modern-day climbing. The men's effort and sense of adventure is at least an inspiration for the time. It certainly was in their wheelhouse as Statz did complete the climb. Bailey's death teaches us several important lessons. First, overconfidence in one's abilities can lead to disaster. Despite his vast experience, Bailey may have been too comfortable, perhaps underestimating the risks or pushing too hard, too fast. It's easy to be lulled into a false sense of security when you've completed many successful climbs in the past, but nature is unpredictable, and even the most seasoned climbers can fall prey to its dangers. Another factor to consider is equipment, or lack thereof. While Bailey and Statz may have had the best gear available at the time, it was nowhere near the safety standards required for such a treacherous climb. Modern climbing equipment, including ropes, harnesses, and climbing shoes, has revolutionized the sport and drastically reduced the risk of fatal falls. But even with today's technology, no amount of preparation can eliminate the inherent dangers of scrambling and climbing without proper protection. Finally, Bailey's death emphasizes the importance of caution, humility, and respect for the mountains. Even the most experienced climbers can find themselves in peril if they become complacent or too confident. While the specific cause of Bailey's fall may never be fully understood, his death serves as a pivotal moment in the history of climbing in Yosemite.